While farmers along the Gulf Coast brace for Hurricane Laura, with a Category 3 storm system expected to grow throughout the day, concerns arise over the potential threat that is to farm country. AgriSafe Executive Director Natalie Roy joins us now for an update on the situation. And Natalie, thanks for taking the time to chat with us here today. How many people could be affected by this storm system? And of course, what is the rural impact that's possibly taking place?
Sure. So we're looking at least 20 million people are in the storm's path, and over 500,000 have been ordered to evacuate. The southern parishes of Louisiana and counties of Texas are rural and based in agriculture, and we know farmers and ranchers are preparing their farms and moving livestock as we speak.
Of course, major flooding forecast for Texas, Louisiana. Why is AgriSafe so concerned?
Well, at this point, with the storm coming in, we know that flash flood safety is a high concern. You know, it takes only 1.5 to 3 feet of moving water to sweep away a vehicle, including trucks and SUVs. So it's really important that we pay attention to that flash flood warnings that come through. But once the storm has passed and flooding has happened, and unfortunately we expect that it will, we're really very concerned here at AgriSafe about what happens when a farm floods and how farmers can go back to their farms and have safe recovery plans. So we really look specifically at those threats that are unique to agriculture. Just kind of give you some examples that are on the top of our minds are things like well water. You know, water may not be safe to drink, cook, or clean after a flood. It's absolutely important that farmers and ranchers check with the departments of health, making sure that water is safe to drink, especially if floodwaters have come over that well cap. Of course, chemicals, we know that farmers have fertilizers and such on the farm. We are concerned about spill of those chemicals and want to make sure that spills that are harmful are being addressed. So again, be very careful with that. And certainly, you know, in the South with hurricanes, you know, mold is a big part of our natural environment already, but higher concentrations of mold and bacteria can be found after flood. And this can cause a lot of respiratory problems when farmers go back in to try to perhaps take care of moldy hay, that type of thing. The stress added to this, the mental health component has to be addressed, and there are people there to help. And then certainly, finally, heat illness. And so there's a lot of health concerns. Farmers take care of their livestock and crops really well, but we want them to take time for themselves as well.
Natalie, how can others across the country maybe help, especially those who themselves work in agriculture?
Well, you know, farmers are very stoic and they're ready to help each other. And I know that Texas and Louisiana Farm Bureaus are already gearing up to help farmers. So I would follow the work they're doing in matching farmers who need perhaps food for livestock, that type of thing. Visit agrisafe.org for more information on life-saving tips to keep safe after farm floods. We're here to help the farmer.
Natalie, you mentioned stress. Of course, that is something that farmers deal with daily, but especially following a natural disaster. Any advice to keep in mind?
You know, certainly there's post-traumatic stress that can happen. You know, farmers have been through a lot of natural disasters, and so sometimes that doesn't come until even weeks after a major natural disaster. So definitely be proactive, recognize potential signs of stress, anxiety, or depression, and don't be afraid to ask for help because this is a very serious event that's happening, and unfortunately folks that might have been through this before.
Natalie, real quick before we wrap up, of course, you're in Louisiana yourself. What are you seeing so far?
Well, we're seeing some more certainty now in terms of the storm's path. And literally up until this morning, there was some question of it shifting. So I think folks are preparing. The southern coast, unfortunately, it is very rural, and so people are trying to move out as quickly as possible. But we know folks are going to stay behind and take care of their livestock if they can't move them. So we'd like to see folks be as safe as possible at this point.
All right. Well, thank you very much for your insight today. AgriSafe Network Executive Director Natalie Roy on the phone with us today from Covington, Louisiana.